Welcome everyone to this week episode 27 entitled Betrayal Is Among Thee for my podcast show, Nichel Anderson, Short Stories and Beyond, to be published today, May the 14th, 2018, as we get closer and closer to the finale on May the 28th, when this podcast, along with my other podcasts that I do have, I have a total of 2 other podcasts, is entitled Surviving Your Journey Toward Success. If you haven't subscribed to that, please do. But both of my podcasts, as I started this journey last year, is for season 1, 2017-2018. I decided to have it the first year, the last episode and going forward would be in May, and it would be the last Monday of May. So for this year in 2018, that last day is the 28th of May. And then so it will go into the summer season, which basically I take a break, but not too much of a break, because I still want to be able to release episodes, but just not as frequent. So basically it will reduce the frequency in every week, and then you will get a new episode from me every 2 weeks. So pretty much 2 times a month during the summer months. And the summer months will last 3 months here in the States, and then it will start back up for a new season, which it would be 2018 to 2019, starting on the first Monday, I believe that is, the first Monday of September, which would be fall here in the States, and then it will continue on. So we're gearing up to the big finale here from my podcast show, Nichel Anderson, Short Stories and Beyond. So in this particular clip snippet, and again, I only release the clip of my short story, but I do give you enough that will make you more excited and interested in the full short story, which this is a premium podcast, meaning that to get the full short story, I encourage you to become a patron, and I will get that information to you. Pretty much is in the description of this podcast. But let's just go ahead and jump into this right here in this clip snippet of my short story, where you will learn another clue leading up to, again, the finale on May the 28th, which is just less than 2 weeks away, pretty much, and that led up to who was really against King Mahlon, that led to the war. And in another scene, I share with you a moment of a memory, pretty much of Queen Hagar, in the sense that she's piecing it together, where she's finding out the issues that occurred and what she discovered that was a problem that led to the war. So in that sense, you kind of get a little snippet of that, but not too much, because again, you have to be a patron to get this whole full short story that I'm releasing today, entitled Betrayal Is Among Thee. So in this particular episode, we're focusing on Natu. So Natu was in the very first scene that I decided to do this podcast, is entitled Before the Time of Princess Aamina. So that's episode 1. I do encourage you to check that out, because that really came to me to write. It was so it was similar to when I was called to write Mitsrayim, and the images just flowed, and it kept doing that, urging me that I had to put it on paper, or in this case today's, type it out. And it just flowed, that when I read back again, I didn't have to make an adjustment. It was just there, it was. And from there on, here we are today. So that always been a signal to me that it's coming from a higher power, a higher sense, to be able to share that with you. It's a great feeling that I could do this, much more. It does take work to put all this together, but it's nothing compared to actually doing film. Independent film that I did before, or producing a stage, which, by the way, these stories that I'm doing is coming off from my production MOLIAE, which is from my book Mitsrayim, that I turned into a stage play called Moments of Love in Ancient Egypt. And from there, I pretty much just shortened with the first letters of that title to MOLIAE. And that's what MOLIAE means, Moments of Love in Ancient Egypt. It's a great story about not only finding love or enjoying the love that you have for somebody else, and that could be in the relationship either with family or friends, but the one that your heart desire. But also in that, the whole book and the concept of the production is the choices that define us all, and how we should use that to better ourselves and to contribute to the circle of life. So in this particular one episode, we're going to focus on that. And as well, like I said, the clip snippet will lead up to pretty much what's going on with more information, that if you want to get the full story and that rest of that information, consider to be a patron. So to get the full short story, this week starts off with this SNIPPET. Go ahead and decide to become a patron of my program here, of Nichel Anderson Short Stories and Beyond podcast patron program at www.patreon.com/Nichel Anderson. Now let's do a recap of what happened last week. So the recap from last week, it was featuring a clip snippet of Queen Hagar having a memory of somebody that she knew from her childhood, and his name was Rulin. And it seems that in that village, or at least it seems to be some type of link to whoever else was involved with setting this up that created a war that ended up hurting King Mahlon, to the point that in the first episode, as I mentioned, and again, another thing too, if you're new to my podcast and new to my production MOLIAE, or to my writing of stories, is that first episode, at the time I shared with my listeners and followers that I didn't really know where King Mahlon was. It was like as I was writing it out, as the scenes came in my mind, I was actually going through that moment for the very first time. And I didn't really get to know that Queen Hagar was pregnant until the second episode. And that's where I realized that she was pregnant. And that's where I saw that, oh my gosh, King Mahlon is hidden and he is hurt. And that was a very powerful episode too. I believe that came out in episode 3. But I would definitely do episode 1 before the time of Princess Aamina, because all this is before Aamina was on the scene. And anybody has been following, Aamina is the main lead character of Mitsrayim, the book that started it all, to talk about ancient Egypt, or Kemet, as we say, from the ancient of Sumnar and that civilization. And the productions that I did thereafter is basically focusing from the vantage point of Princess Aamina. But these podcast episodes is before the time of her. So only Princess Hannah, the young Princess Hannah, is on the scene, and Queen Hagar and King Mahlon, they were the parents. And in the book, you will also can recall, if you are a follower and read my book, that the deal was made between King Mahlon and King Kohan. King Kohan is the stepfather of King Dama and King Daniel, the two kings that I did bring out of the book sense into the stage production. All right. So recapping from last week, is where Queen Hagar has a memory of a childhood friend, and that she goes visit him. So we see this scene where it's still the young Queen Hagar, and it seems like it's right leading up to the war against Mitsrayim. So whispers or things are being said that is getting back to the palace. She felt upon herself to go and meet this person in the shadowy of a night, that she shares these flashes of memory leading up to the incident of what we realized that thereafter Queen Hagar had to take leadership of Mitsrayim solely by herself, as King Mahlon was being healed. So she confides that in her father Tayyib. While they were talking, something happens. A secret message was sent to her by an undisclosed guard, in the sense that no one knew that he's one of the few undercover, in a sense, guards or spies, I should say, to the queen and to the king. And she read it and realized that, in fact, something more is about to be revealed. So to get that part, of course, you know what I'm going to say, consider to become a patron. Let's get started today on this week episode. So let's begin. For this week of my podcast show, Nichel Anderson, Short Stories and Beyond, for this week episode 27, entitled Betrayal Is Among Thee. Opening scene. Days later, on the west bank of the Sudan, deep in the lineage from what would be called in the future generations the Congo, it is Natu that appears from the shadows to walk towards an above-ground hut with many rooms and open walls that let the Aspu rays continue to shine through. Natu had only 4 of his trusted Orion soldiers that always supported him since the old days in Orion wars against many others. And this day Natu walked up to the open level built as a terrace that one could look out below and above at the massive deep trees rooted below. Suddenly he heard footsteps behind him and knew it would be the final word to what he sought in making the trip to this domain in the Sudan. "They have spoken on your behalf," one of the high Kungito tribal members said, wearing a long yellow and maroon colored robe that flowed quickly down to his feet while holding what seemed was ancient papyrus papers. Natu nodded before speaking. "I am ready to enter the temple." He was motioned this way as his 4 other Orion military soldier officers followed. Natu finally saw the 10 council members nodded before him to proceed to speak. He was motioned this way as his 4 other Orion military officers followed him. Within the few moments that seemed like time left and came, Natu finally saw the 10 council members nodding for him to proceed. Natu paused to gasp as he saw the open grandeur of the temple hidden in this area domain of the Sudan. There were 10 of them sitting behind a stone table. Natu spoke with ease, finally, as if spilling water from the old. "I am alone in this mission to secure what you seek of King Mahlon. I have something of value to him that my direct leader would not go forward. I ask for your help to move forward that will secure your secret fellow members of the Sudan to have Mitsrayim at your command." Natu motioned to one of the guards to present the Council of Kungito the evidence for proof of his position forward in their eyes. One of the Orion guards did as told and unveiled another armor that clearly stated owned by a Mitsrayim high rank before them. The Council of Kungito members gasped as they leaned over to see the evidence. One of the main leaders spoke first. "What do you seek this day, Natu?" "Power of the military of the mission of a star." The Kungito members continued to gasp and talk amongst themselves before the leader spoke again to Natu. "This will push out Echo." Natu nodded and looked downward for only a moment before then slowly back up to their leader. Eye contact between the two seemed like silence lasted forever. Before speaking, Natu stood tall. "Time changes for those that will not move. I will share where Echo hides beneath the Apsu." The Kungito members started talking amongst themselves before the leader spoke again. "We will give you for what you seek, and make it known not by whom to those that rule Mitsrayim." Natu nodded as the deed was done, and he could feel the power seep through inside him within what he sought for a long, long time now. A new day has begun. Meanwhile, in Mitsrayim, on the open deck and 14 levels high in the Royal Abbas Palace, along with 12 royal guards and 7 royal female attendants, ready at the next command, we see Queen Hagar is meditating with her father and mother, which were both on each of her side this early dawn of Apsu days. They had planned soon after to visit King Mahlon again, that was still in a secret location, not too far but near in them, in meditating for peace of mind. It was still not time to reveal his condition to the people of Mitsrayim and to the world beyond the Sudan. Suddenly, a moment of a memory broke through the concentration of Queen Hagar, demanding the attention, the center of her mind, to remember. flashes of we told of before to Queen Hagar, so aloud she let it to enter one at a time, as she clenched her hands for emotional support. It was the day King Mahlon returned from war, before Ezra could speak, entering the royal domain. This concludes this week clip snippet for this episode. If you would like to listen to the full story, please visit my Patreon page. The information will be in the below description. Thank you again. Of this podcast, Nichel Anderson, Short Stories and Beyond. I will release only the clippet of the short story, and once you become a patron, you will have access to the full short story, what's going on next. And I do plan to release more director clip notes, as well as a bonus of releasing a story. Thank you again for joining my podcast this week. So long.